file them somewhere in between I Mother Earth and Treble Charger. That's the CrashJonesBand and their song Diamonds Ain't Forever, the theme song to the Up and In Dynasty League podcast. Welcome to episode 5. My name is Scott Slonaker. Yes, still doing this. And I have with me today from Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. You have moved around a little bit.
Yes.
Another one of the original members of our league, Jeff Wetter. How's it going, Jeff?
Not too bad. How about yourself, Scott?
I'm pretty good. This is actually the second interview I've recorded today, so it's been a productive day. Luckily, the kids are in bed. If you listen to episode 4, which is not out yet, but it will be out by the time you see this, episode 5, you'll get my interview with Justin Fox, where you can hear my daughter yelling in the background. It's the middle of the day, and that's what she does. But her batteries have been removed for the evening, and so are my sons. They're off school and they have way too much energy to burn. So at this point, I don't think I'm doing any more 3 p.m.
Yeah,
9 p.m. is about right. So sure. I know you're an hour behind me in Central Time. So I am also. I don't know about you. I think we're both probably missing our team's baseball games at the moment. Am I right?
Usually the Twins are off today, so. Yeah.
Okay, I'm afraid to check the score of the Reds Nationals game. The Reds are trying to face Steven Strasburg, and it's probably not going to go well. They did manage to beat Max Scherzer, if you can believe that. It was really something. I don't know how.
Really? Wow.
It's 2 solo homers, and then they got like 2 other hits the whole game. So.
Oh, okay. I was going to watch the Angels game, but with Shohei Ohtani being scratched from his start today.
I didn't realize that.
Figured it. And it was apparently. Well, the reason for that, or at least this is what I saw on Twitter, was that there was apparently an accident on the Bay Bridge in Oakland, and for some reason, the visiting team, whenever they play in Oakland, they stay in San Francisco, and so
I didn't know that.
So the accident on the Bay Bridge then forced them to all take part. The Bay Area, the rapid transit.
Yeah, they had to take the light rail to get to the station.
Yeah, and apparently they didn't get there enough time for Shohei Ohtani to go through his full pregame warm up. So I guess he's going to be going tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
God, that guy. Anyway, I mean, obviously tons of talent, and I guess I'm and I didn't get this viewpoint from. I didn't make this up, and I think I may have pushed this on somebody else. I think it might have been the interview with John in episode 3, because he is a huge Ohtani fan. He talks about how he's a fan of Ohtani and Darvish. And I was like, yeah, I think he's going to have to pick either hitting or pitching. Where do you come down on that? Do you think he should do that? Is that better to be really good at one? Or is it, because baseball's so hard, how are you going to do both of them and succeed at both of them all the time? So I don't know. What do you think?
It's real hard for those the one of one cases that it's. I guess if he can make it through, this season, it gets like 25 starts, like 500 at bats or something. If he can make it through the season doing that without any real adverse effects, then I guess there probably wouldn't be any reason for them to really change much of what they're doing with them, at least in terms of what they want to do with them next year and perhaps the year before that. But it did. Definitely was concerning. His last week when he was only at like 93, 94 miles an hour with his fastball, and like
that's down, isn't it? That's down.
84 bore with his splitter, and he's
Oh, okay. Yeah.
usually at like 98, with his four seamer,
Yeah.
usually around 990 with the splitter. So I
That's a
have
big change.
no idea what was going on with that. Other than that would be, would definitely be concerning for pretty much any other pitcher. But I guess they're saying he wasn't injured, so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
he was, he's Superman. He was at
Yeah.
least temporarily pitching like regular baseball man.
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
94,
Yeah.
93, 90. I mean, for a right-hander,
Just
93. Believe it or not, and I remember my eyes bugged out when I first saw this. I'm pretty sure it's still true though. 93 is now an average fastball for a right-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Does that
93,
include?
I think.
Is that just starters, or is that
I think it's all
starters and
pitchers.
relievers?
The
Oh,
average fastball
okay.
from now with
Yeah, sure.
left-handers, it's a little slower.
Yep.
There are certainly left-handers who can get above that. I mean, the Orioles, Chapmans, and so on. But um,
Yeah.
left-handers have always been throwing a little slower. But it's
Okay.
you know, so it used to be that I mean, did Walter Johnson throw 93? I mean, I don't think he did, right? I mean, he was supposed to be
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the fastest throwing pitcher of his entire era. He probably didn't throw 93. I honestly don't know if he did. So if he did, post in the comments. I don't know. But but 93 was at one, even just a couple decades ago, was that was a like
Sure.
a 65 or a 70 fastball, and now it's basically a 50 or a 55 fastball. So I just so I mean, I don't know if you could ever. I mean, it sounds like you're an Ohtani fan. I guess you're not about to acquire him in the league, because I don't think John will probably keep him on his roster after he's retired. I mean,
I can almost assure you that I would not have the assets on my team to be able to acquire him, especially for the salary that he's at. Yeah,
yeah, that's true. So your team in the league is the St. Cloud Nor'easters.
Yes,
this is a reference to where you went to college.
Yep.
Right, in Minnesota. Yep. And and we'll get to that stuff, because you have some. I know you have some twin stories from your youth. And then Nor'easters is a reference to what you do for a living.
Actually, the Nor'easters is a reference to there's a beer that's made by Grain Belt Brewing Company.
Grain Belt, you said? Okay.
What?
Grain Belt.
Grain Belt. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep, they're owned by Shell. Yep, they're owned by Shell's brewing company, which has been making beer in Minnesota since the 1870s. So it's they've been in there, and that particular beer, the Northeast hasn't been. Hasn't been around anywhere near that long. But when I was 21, when I first joined the league here, that was my favorite beer. So
okay, but it should be pointed out, though, you are a meteorologist.
Yes, sir.
So that hasn't come up yet. So were you just destined? I mean, having your last name, being a reference to precipitation, or
I've always said that I should just go over and be a TV meteorologist in Germany and just be Mr. Weather, and I would make
I took German in high school.
Yeah,
Wetter.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's true. So I went to Germany and used my high school German on some people, and then everybody responded to me in English. It was like, oh, come on. Anyway.
Yeah, I took 3 years of German in high school too. I have virtually no recollections of it now,
Yeah.
except, I mean, obviously, except for the swear words. Yeah, swear words.
Right. I only remembered one verb tense, so like all I could do is speak in the present tense. Imagine how people would look at you funny if you spoke
Yeah.
English in only the present tense. No past, no future. English has more verb tenses than the other European languages because it's English and it's more complicated. But
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't remember any of it, so all I had was present tense. And I think
Yeah,
people
I
were
mean,
charmed that I was
yeah.
trying because I don't think they were used to Americans trying in Germany. You know,
Yeah,
they're used to
yeah.
hearing English and responding in English back because most European. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, no. And
Yeah.
I tried it; it was fun. And
Yeah,
but
they probably got the gist of what you were saying
I
at
mean, I
least.
was 10 years out of high school, so it was kind of
All right.
so.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I
Well,
guess I should say,
sure.
before we get going here, I'm actually not able to record this. As Zoom says that I need your permission to
Oh,
record it.
okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm recording it on my end. This we recorded on
Okay.
both ends because I have already tried to record one of these in the past and it did not record. So I don't know how I give the permission for it. So I apologize.
Okay.
But this is recording, so I think we're
Okay.
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 Um, I thank you for
Good. Good.
telling me that. I didn't
Yeah.
know, but I just don't want to screw this up and it's been more time.
Hmm.
I got Netflix to
I,
watch, man. you know,
well,
no,
I
but it's
completely understand. Yeah.
no, we're about 3 episodes from the end of Schitt's Creek, and I'm excited, and so
Yeah.
would so I'm not in a hurry. It's
Right on.
just
Oh, yeah.
this evening
What's
time
on
is
your mind?
precious, and my
Yep.
children
Yep.
don't want to sleep because it's summertime. They're not in school. They want to stay
All
up all
right.
night, and so the amount of time that I have is vanishingly. So if we have to do
Yes.
this interview twice, you know. So it
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
a waste of your time and my time, and
No,
I
I
just don't have
understand. Yep.
much.
Yep.
So anyway, um,
All right.
so tell me, obviously, I mean, you were likely to be a Minnesota Twins fan just from geography, growing up outside of
Yes.
Minneapolis, like nearby, right?
Yep. Yep.
But what was it about your youth that pretty much cinched your Twins fandom?
Sure. So I guess you could say it was one of those things that was sort of forced on on me by fate to be a
Yep.
Twins fan, because I was actually born right before game one of the 1991 World Series, and I spent at least according to what my mom says, I spent the entire series in the hospital. So yeah, I was so I technically have seen Minnesota sports team win a Series in my lifetime. Now I was what, like 10 days old when it happened. So, I can't say I have a whole lot of recollections of it, but
Yeah.
but it did, but it but it did happen. So, you know, yeah, it was, I got stories my dad always, or my dad tells me of watching, or they watched games one and two in the hospital, and when they were waiting around to see if, because I had to spend a few extra days in the hospital as a newborn. There were some complications with my lungs, and so yeah, my parents watched, yeah, yeah, games
Oh,
one and
so it was
two in
on,
the
yeah.
hospital. Yep, yep.
So did that make them big? I mean, were your folks fans already, or did they
Not
become bigger fans because
really.
of that?
Yeah, not really. Yeah, my mom never really cared too much about baseball, and I think my dad only really got into it because I started heading into it, when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I started playing t-ball and near-ball, and it was about the only, or at least when I was younger, it was the only sport that I played. So yeah, I think he sort of got into it from that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you grew up is mostly which sport is king? Is it hockey? I mean, or is it baseball or?
Yeah, it's I guess in the, I you know I you know I grew up in a town of about 4 or 5 thousand people. It's since ballooned to about 8 or 9 thousand people
Ballooned.
now.
Okay, well, actually, that's a
Now
pretty.
it's
Most small
well,
towns are not getting bigger in America, so that's actually
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it also, it is only a half an hour outside of Minneapolis, so
Yeah,
it
that's
is a
true.
nice bedroom community for, it's in the next, it's in the next county over from Indianapolis as well. So the property taxes aren't anywhere near as high as they are in there. So I suspect that that's a big reason why there's been a relatively sudden influx of people to come in. But to your question, there was it's mostly like a football and a baseball town. We've had a town. We got a town ball team that's been fairly successful. It's made it to the, like the state quarter quarterfinals for the town ball state championships in Minnesota a few times. We've had a few. Let's see, we had 2 or 3 guys that have made it to AAA from our team. In high school, I actually played with 2 of them on the team. So yeah, we did. Yeah, I was
Oh,
the fourth pick.
So two of your teammates played pro ball then.
Huh? Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was I ended up being the fourth pick, or the fourth starting pitcher on a on a high on a high school team that really only needed 3 starters, because the other 3 were much better than I was.
It's like the one solitary year of tackle football that I played when I was 10. We had 21 players on the team, and I was a second string. And I was like a second or third. I mean, I guess I was probably on the third string. Like, they didn't even have enough players to have that many strings. So like,
Right.
I wasn't really interested in tackling people. And so then I was
Yeah.
the backup safety. And basically they would let all the players play in every game, but I would
Right.
usually get put in just like at the very end, like in the last play. So
Right.
my shining moment of youth football, I have to tell this just because I've already started the story, and plus I bet my
Yeah,
brother will
sure.
certainly remember this. The last game of the season, they had us play at Riverfront Stadium, which is where the Reds and the Bengals used to play. Right now, of
Cool.
course, they have their own stadiums.
Yep.
And so we go down there, we play, and we were playing another team from like the next town over, and I got put in for my 2 plays. And I get in the game, and so I'm the safety. I'm standing way back there. They don't pass very much in 9 and 10-year-old football. What are you going to do?
Nice.
And I'm like, I'm
Yep.
just going to hang out back here. Well, lo and behold, one of the plays called was they were trying to throw a long pass, and so I see the receiver. I see the receiver coming down the field. It's pretty obvious, and he really was. In my recollection, he wasn't really being covered by anybody. I
Yep.
mean, we had
Yep.
defensive backs or whatever, and he comes down the field, and the quarterback tried to throw him the ball, and I don't think the ball got there all the way. It was not a very good pass. I mean, it was, and the kid comes running, and I'm like, here's my chance.
Your
So the
moment to
kid comes
shine.
running, and I
Yeah.
just wham! I just blasted him like he didn't even know it was coming. I mean, I cannot believe they didn't call me for a penalty, and I was really proud of myself. wham. I think he was out of bounds too. You could see the lines on the field very well. They hadn't redrawn them because it was the off season from
Sure.
pro football. Anyway, so that was my football experience, and that was the end of it. I retired after the season and never did it again. So
Yeah,
I'll talk
yeah.
high school football with my brother, who was the punter on a team that punted a whole lot. But I never play. I didn't ever play baseball for school. So you were saying you were telling me before this that you had not heard anybody else's actual baseball playing experience
Oh yeah.
in any of the interviews. And you're right. I don't know. I'm sure we have somebody in the league who played at the school level, but I mean, Jake, of course, was an original member of the league. He obviously pitched in Division III, as he reminds us on every one of their podcasts.
Yes.
But I don't know of anybody else that really played, beyond kid level. So that's that counts for something,
Really,
I think.
yeah. I mean, I guess you could sort of call what I was doing playing because I
You
could
had a
never
uniform.
actually, had a uniform. I was on the roster, and one of those things where I was a, I was a, I was mostly a mostly a pitcher. About the only above average athletic skill that I have is the ability to roll the ball hard and throw the ball accurately, or at least I
That counts for a
did.
lot. I mean,
And yeah, and so
the Reds have a
that
hard
was
time finding people who can do both of those things at the same time. So.
they do.
Anyway, go ahead.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So that was mostly what I did in middle school and in high school. When I played ball, and I couldn't, like, I just me always being a tall and skinny guy who never really had the desire to necessarily improve as much as the other kids did. So I could not hit. I could not hit to save my life. Like there were multiple times in oh God, when I was playing in summer ball in high school, and I was always I was a pretty decent outfielder too, and most of the time, when I played the outfield, they would DH for me instead of the pitcher.
You could pick.
So,
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you could DH for whoever you want.
I didn't think
wanted
most high school baseball would use the DH. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was just I mean, it was an option. You didn't
did grow up in an
have to
American
use
League
anything,
city. Maybe that's it.
I did. True. Yeah.
Well,
although I think that, although I think I think that's a pretty universal thing among youth leagues and high schools, and now is a DH. Like, I don't know if there is a league
it lets
that
another kid play, I
makes that.
guess.
Well, sure. Yep.
So.
Exactly. But yes. So I was a pitcher, and like I said, I never really, I was on the varsity team my senior year, and even then, like I just said, there were two Division II players that were also in the rotation before me, so they got a lot of the innings. So it was mostly just like a spot starter or a reliever, or just some
we need some innings, kid.
Come in there. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then you don't get a baseball scholarship to college.
No, sir. No, sir. They didn't.
I picked that up.
They weren't.
And you go off to study meteorology, and then in St. Cloud at St. Cloud State, and then at some point you start listening to the Up and In podcast.
Yes,
Yes.
I was I, I actually started to become a fan of prospects when I was the first the first step on my career as a poster was at the Beckett message boards back in the Beckett card grading service. They had
Yeah, is that the same thing? Because as a kid, I used to get Beckett Baseball Card Monthly,
yep,
which I don't think is still around,
yeah,
but I got that
yeah,
for years.
probably not, yeah, yep,
Okay,
same here,
Beckett.
yep.
Okay, and so now
And
it's a card
so,
grading service. So I think it makes sense because they didn't have card grading services when I was a kid collecting baseball cards. So yeah,
oh
okay,
sure, yep,
okay,
yeah,
Beckett.
yeah, and so I started on their site, and I was like 12 years old, I want to say, which was I think was actually even too young for their turn to service. I think you had
Yeah,
to be 13 to do that, but
yeah,
yeah,
probably.
I would go on there, and I would trade cards with people I collected. The first prospect that had I ever collected cards of, and I really today could not tell you why I decided to start collecting him, but of Rangers third baseman Hank Blaylock. I
Hank Blaylock. Yep, I
started
remember him.
buying and I started buying his cards when he was in the minors, like Double A, I
Pretty
think.
ballyhooed prospect, yeah, for sure.
Yep,
Um,
yeah,
and he had a pretty good major league career.
uh-huh. It
Didn't
wasn't
it end
too bad.
abruptly somehow? I want to say. I
I,
don't remember. I'd have to look it
I
up. I don't want. I
yeah,
try not to look stuff up in the middle of these
not
things
sure to
because
be
I
honest with you.
just okay.
Yep.
I want to
Yeah.
say he had some sort of major injury or something that I don't know.
Okay.
Put it. No,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah. No, I remember him being good through like 2007-ish, I want to
Yeah.
say.
So a few
And
years.
then after that, I didn't really, yeah, I didn't really collect cards much then. So yeah, I didn't really
It's the story of many a
follow.
baseball card collector. Just one
Yes.
year,
Yes.
it's just like you know what, Nintendo or girls or whatever um, is just going to be more important
Well,
right now
yeah,
than baseball cards
well,
is.
yeah, somewhere in a box at my my parents' house. I have a bunch of Hank Blay, Haylock, Bow, Home and Chrome, rookie cards. The refractors, the X fractors,
Oh,
the
geez.
gold chromes, just
It got very
all kinds of old
complicated.
ones. Yes, yes, they did.
I stopped collecting mostly before that stuff, but I
Yeah.
did. I was vaguely familiar with it. I know, like now, my brother was telling me, my brother, and his son, who is 10 or 9, 10, something like that. Oh God. He's going to get on my case.
Oops.
Catching, I always forget exactly how old he is, but yeah, I got the range right. And
Yeah.
they're doing this thing that Topps does called Bunt. Are you familiar with Bunt?
Nope.
Basically, it is digital cards, digital collectible cards that you
Okay.
get like in an app on your phone. I mean, now
Okay.
there,
Sure.
I mean, it makes sense that it would
Yeah.
exist, but it's like it's
Yeah.
not really the same thing. But
I mean, it's like it's like an NFT, isn't it?
yeah, I
It's
guess it
it
is kind of like an
sounds
NFT.
it
I don't know. It's
sounds like the
just
same thing. Yeah.
I know I've already had at least a half a dozen instances in this conversation alone of feeling like a very old person. But that is one and he was describing this bunt thing, and I think he might have even put it on our Discord. Like, does anybody do the bunt? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you know what?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
if my son who is 7 comes to me and says, hey, Dad, I'm tired of Pokemon, which Pokemon is great and everything, but
uh-huh.
like I have
It is.
negative interest in watching Pokemon movies or television shows. It is
Oh, sure.
not.
Yeah.
It is not. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just as an adult who likes things,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever tried to watch this stuff. Don't start. It's not. Okay.
Well, that was something that was big, when I was
Yes, and I'm
growing
not
up.
putting down
Yeah.
the game but I'm talking about the media.
Yeah. Oh,
Cannot do.
sure, sure.
Sad. I'm sorry. It's for young children. I mean, it just is. You know.
Well, yeah, yeah. I grew up like, yeah, when when the original Pokemon show was on
Yeah.
Saturday mornings at like 10 o'clock. I want to. I always made sure to be up on time to be able to watch that.
Yeah. My son has acquired a bunch of and I will connect this back to Bunt here in a second.
Yes, yes.
He acquired a bunch of older Pokemon cards. He goes, this card is super old. I look at it, it says copyright 1999. It's like, son,
Yeah,
Dad was an adult with a college
yeah.
degree in 1999. Well, yeah, I was. I was like,
So what? Yeah.
that's not that
So
long
what?
ago. Like, that's
You know?
back when marketers were interested in me, right? Like,
Yeah, there we go.
it's like, this is old. I said, okay, son, the correct word, I guess in this accelerated time frame is vintage.
Vintage. Yes,
It is
yes.
not an antique, and it is not old. I mean, just like
Yes.
I'd look at my 19, I bought 10 gazillion million 1987 Topps cards out of packs.
Oh, yes.
I can't think
Yes.
of those as something that's really old, even though they're 35 years old. It's hard
Sure.
to, I don't know. Anyway, I'm old. Okay. So Bunt. So if he came to me and said, I'm tired of Pokemon, I'd rather like do this Bunt thing. Like, I would do it, because I view that as a pretty big improvement in personal interest wise over Pokemon. But it is hard to understand how the digital, I think really it's just, just anything that keeps you coming back to your device is just,
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
business. And, I'm glad Topps is still around. I mean, baseball card companies have dropped one by one over the years. They all got out of it. Fleer, Donruss,
Yep.
Score. I know some of these
Yep.
are probably before your time. That's fine.
No,
But
no.
I mean,
Oh, no. No, I collected cards from all of them. Yeah. All of them. Yep.
yeah,
Remember, well, it just, it wouldn't really be the same, I think, just because, so much of the value, at least, that I had from collecting cards was just, the physical aspect of it. Just being able to, pull them from a pack, and being able to, show them off to my friends, and put them in there in the little plastic sleeves, and in the hard plastic cases for the
all I
the
have
real nice
now.
cards.
It sounds like you got to hold on to yours.
Yeah.
I didn't. My parents did not throw them away. I mean,
Okay.
all of our parents, or all of our, well, not all our parents, but any of our parents that would have collected cards. I mean, it's mostly a boy thing back then. I don't know if that's really or not. But it doesn't seem like it really has. But I'm not gonna. I don't know. My dad's mom threw away his cards because they weren't seen as valuable, and he had cards from the 50s and 60s, and
Right.
if your dad collected cards, he probably has a similar story. So no one threw away my cards, but I did at one point. I did get rid of all the boxes of 1987 Topps Commons.
All right.
I had like a 1990 Donruss set with like all but 5 cards only about 5 cards missing that I just gotten out of packs, and I, for whatever reason, didn't get those last 5 anyway. So, but I did keep some of the more valuable ones. I mean, I didn't have anything that was gonna pay for anybody's college, but it was.
They don't have the. You never managed to get like the 89 the upper deck Griffey rookie card or anything?
No, I didn't have it. I didn't have an 89 Upper Deck Griffey. As I recall, 89 Upper Deck, that was the first year of that set, and I don't remember.
So.
They were very scarce. And if you did find them, like and this was a time when I was going to baseball card shows, if you could find them there, but they were an astronomical price. They were like $3 a pack.
Oh,
and
geez.
that was way out of my in
Yeah,
an
for
era
sure.
when Topps packs were, maybe 50 to
Yeah,
75 cents. Now, I
sure.
didn't necessarily want a bunch of Topps cards. They didn't have that much value really,
Yeah.
except for just a few per set really. But, I was not, I did not have them. I did not have the money as a
Okay.
as a kid
Sure.
to go
Sure.
out and
Yeah.
purchase Upper Deck. Now, I do remember buying some Upper Deck in 90 and 91, but I just the 89 Upper Decks were, I mean, I remember they were hot stuff. They had the hologram on the back. It was,
They
you
did.
know,
Yep.
and that company later, I mean, they don't even still make baseball cards anymore, do they?
Haven't followed what's been going on the baseball
Okay,
card
well,
scene
again,
for
I
like
could be
5
wrong.
years. So yeah,
Yeah, I could be wrong, but
I don't know.
I think they ended up moving into collectible card games. Like they made a collectible card game for World of Warcraft, I know, the company Upper
Okay.
Deck. And but so at some point they gave up on the baseball cards because baseball cards hit a real lull in the like mid to late 90s, and
Right.
so now there's been a series of stories. So this is actually a great thing to bring up. I've noticed there have been several stories on and I don't know what baseball media you follow, but I'm mostly looking at like ESPN. I've subscribed to the Athletic.
Yep.
Um, there's a
Yep.
few blogs. The Craig Calcaterra's newsletter. Craig Calcaterra used to write for Hardball Talk when that
Yep.
was still
Yep.
kind of an active thing.
Hmm.
Um, and there have been stories about how baseball cards are back, and how there's been this big jump in collecting. They
Interesting.
think it's connected to COVID-19 and how, baseball missed most of last season. I mean, it was what they made it like about not even a third of the games, right? Um, and, but then when they talk about it, it makes it sound very different from what you and I remember,
Hmm.
because
Okay.
it's all about like the card grading and getting the scarcest cards, getting the card in PSA 10, which is
Right.
the absolute best mint condition. Where half the
Yep.
cards you pull out of a pack aren't in PSA 10
Yeah.
already.
No. Uh-huh.
They have to be perfectly centered. They have to be I mean, in back in the day, mint just meant that there was there were no creases, no stubbed
Yep.
corners, no marks
Yep.
on the card, and it was reasonably centered. That was mint.
Yep.
Now there's like a 10 down to 1,
Yep.
and the whole thing just it doesn't sound like the same. But this is something people have gotten way back into apparently, and
So
I
yeah.
and I but I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's more companies out there doing it. But Top seems to be doing
Yeah.
okay, and
Don't know. Hmm.
obviously they're
Okay. Yeah. I know.
trading
Yeah.
cards
How does
and the bunt thing. I don't know.
how does Bauman does Bauman still make cards? Do you know or?
Well, I know Bowman, and I know this
Or
from reading
oh, yeah.
baseball card encyclopedias as a child. Bowman was
Oh.
its own company. It was bought out by Topps in the mid 1950s, right? They
Okay.
stopped putting out Bowman cards for a long, long time. They
Okay.
started putting them out again, and it was like a
Oh, that's
vanity
right. Yeah. Yeah.
imprint of
Uh-huh.
Topps.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yep. Okay.
And so it was just kind of a thing they did. I mean, it didn't. And it sounds to me like Bowman cards, as you got into the period of time when you were collecting as a kid
Yep.
in the, would say, early 2000s
Yep.
era, that
Mid
Bowman
2000s.
started
Yep.
to acquire some value. They weren't just like, oh, haha, here's a name that is familiar that your
Yeah.
grandpa would recognize, on the
Yeah.
pack of
Yeah.
cards, you know. Um, but that Bowman's became their own thing that people wanted, that had value and were,
Yeah. And
collectible and stuff.
I
So
yeah, and I think that Bowman's well, they found a niche in printing a lot of like my inner league cards. A lot of prospects,
sure.
a lot of cards that you could hold on to for a few years, and then may they'd be worth something. That seems to be the yeah for the role that they filled in that market. And of course there were Tops and Upper Deck that were
Mhm.
that were also making rookie cards as well. But you were never going to be able to find like a second round draft pick a card from top of upper deck. That was that was a market that Bowman had carved.
Okay, so
Carved out
okay, I don't think I realized that. Yeah,
pretty
it's
well. Yeah.
possible Bowmans are still around. I know.
Yeah.
Did you see this story? Again, this was another one of these stories that was appearing in the media, where I guess there was I think it was a Bowman, Mike Trout autographed rookie card that was like it was the only one. Oh man, see, I should have looked this up
I think
before.
I know what you're talking
and it was like the
about.
only one. It was unique, and it sold for a couple million.
Like, yeah, it was something like that.
And I think that was a Bowman, right? So Bowman was at least around as long as when Mike Trout was,
yeah,
which is what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 7. I don't know.
I would have imagined it probably, for it to be worth that much. It was, yeah, probably pretty early on in his career, if not, or a rookie card of some kind. Yeah.
So maybe Bowmans are still around. I don't know. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that, because I was in Target just earlier this evening, and Target just announced a policy where they're no longer selling sports cards in their stores, sports or Pokemon cards. They're not selling either one of them in their stores, because there's been some kind of, I guess there have been like people getting in brawls or whatever in the aisles of Target. I don't know if these are the mask wearing sorts of people or not. Aren't. Like beating the crap out of each other over the last pack of Topps cards in Target. And so I walk into Target, and I'm sure there's probably a few Targets in your I know you're not living in Minnesota now, but that's
a mile away
Target
from
land, right?
Yeah.
And I walk, and I see the shelf of where they keep the cards as I'm walking towards the grocery area, and it says Pokemon. I was like, oh, I think maybe they have the cards, and I walk over, and all that's on the shelf are Magic the Gathering cards. Nobody is Magic the Gathering is still pretty popular, but I guess people are not beating each other up over Magic the Gathering. I don't know, but they had all the signage still up, and they had a little sign that said no more, no sports cards and no Pokemon cards until further notice. In other words, until people start behaving themselves, stop acting like sociopath hooligans over stuff. So I'm glad Topps is having a resurgence though, because they've stuck with it, and it's anyway. So you mentioned you got into following prospects, not just Hank Blaylock, but lots of other prospects in general. And I noticed that's a common thread that pretty much everybody I've been talking to, and everybody who has been part of our league for a long time, like the prospects are what got you into this section of baseball media that then led you to joining this nutty fantasy league that was in the fan group for the podcast about the prospects, and and I think that's why I was Justin was talking about this earlier today. I think the point in our league where people get the most excited is the rookie draft. It's not the playoffs. Absolutely. It's not the finals between team number 1 against team number 1A. It's like that's almost an afterthought. It's the most exciting time of the season is February and March, and we're having the rookie draft, and then we're about to have the free agency, and everybody's excited, and you can't wait to get out there and grab whoever the guys on the top 100 list are that, And is that true for you? Like, is that still the way it is every year?
Yeah, I do find a lot more interest in, tracking down the prospects and, and trying to do a very rudimentary comparison between them and all that, trying to, see if there's just a little bit, I probably do more work and research in that and I do in terms of actually telling out my the major league roster during the year. It's just a lot more. The fun comes in the speculation, at least.
Yeah, like
me, just
I'm going to pick. I think these are the guys that are going to be big. These
Yep.
are the guys that are going to be the stars, the next Mike Trout or the next
Yeah.
Garrett Cole or
Yep.
whoever. And, I'm placing a bet on these guys because of something that I read somewhere in Baseball America. Well, back when you could read Baseball America without being a subscriber,
Yeah. Yeah.
Law or,
Hmm.
I don't know who your favorites
Pretty
are.
much anybody. Yeah. Anybody.
Yeah. So I don't, I know I print out all the top 100s I can find. I print out the one
Yep.
on MLB.com. I print out the
Yep.
one on Baseball America. I print out all of them. And then I like cross off who's on a team, and then it's like, okay, here's the guys I can get. I can get this teenage catcher, or I can get, the Mariners second round draft pick from last year. He's number 99. Which one do I want?
Yep.
And that becomes the most energy I put into the
Yep.
league all
Yep.
year as an owner,
Hmm.
when I'm not dealing with spreadsheets.
Yeah. I know you've been, in the other three, podcasts you put out so far, you've talked in general terms about your strategies and in terms of which
I'm not suggesting I know.
prospects you
Yeah.
generally to target. Yeah, and I bring that up to say that I'm right there with the other three guys that have been there, and you too, and that I do try to get guys that that are close to the major leagues, or at least so, in like high A or double A. Yeah, just try and get a little more certainty over their general career
Yeah.
prospects. Last year at least was a big exception to that. With my first round pick last year, I ended up taking Jason Dominguez, just because,
You
for
did.
obvious
That's
reasons.
right. Oh
Yep.
boy. Oh man.
Yeah.
Now he's a very big prospect. I mean, he's the
Yes.
best. He's the most famous 16. I think he's probably 17 or 18 now, but the most famous Latin America signee of that year. And
Since Miguel Sano,
yeah,
probably.
Miguel
Yeah.
Sano, and Miguel Sano was in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Miguel
Yeah.
Sano
Yeah.
was pretty well known as well. Um,
Yes.
and I forgot that I didn't look back to see that you'd done that. So I mean,
Yep. Yep.
Jason Dominguez is now in affiliated ball, right? I mean, he's now
Yeah.
in
I think
low
they
A.
sent him to low A to
Okay.
start the year.
Have you
Yeah.
have you? I
Hmm?
haven't followed him. How's he doing?
Oh, I haven't either. Yeah,
Oh,
I just
okay.
remember seeing. Yeah, I just
You'll check back
remember
in
seeing a
2023, right?
story. Yeah, pretty much. Like it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be a real surprise to see him up anytime before. God, probably 2024. Yeah,
Oh
just
yeah. I
because.
mean, especially at the Yankees. So
Yeah, the
so
Yankees. Hmm.
yeah, no, I was just going to say, so you became a fan of the podcast. Are you a point niner?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I remember listening for sure to the first 20 25 episodes or so, and I didn't listen to every single because there was a lot of them, but
Yeah, I
yeah
know. I
I
downloaded them all, and there were more than I
oh
remember.
okay, yeah.
Just recently, I mean, I
Uh-huh.
downloaded them all.
Okay.
I was really trying to find Juan was on the
Oh,
show,
mhm.
and
Yep.
I was trying to find his segment, which I did find. But
I
yeah,
remember
there ended
listening
up
to that one.
being
Yep.
there's well over 100 episodes, I believe. I mean, I could open up my
Oh,
iTunes, which I still have, but
isn't there like 200 at least? I think
200.
it was.
Oh, maybe
I
it's
seem to recall it being because they did the podcast for like 4 years. I want to say it was it that long?
well, no, believe it or not, it was actually only 2 years,
Uh,
which
was it really? Oh, okay. Huh.
seems hard to believe. But here, I'm trying to open my iTunes. I don't want to mess with it right now. But um, it started in 2010 and ended in 2012. And so
Okay.
yeah, they packed it in there. And then if you remember, the show continued on after
Yep.
Jason left to go work in pro ball, and
Yep.
he's since, of course, been working in pro ball ever since.
Yeah.
And and then the show was, or wait, well, I forget which one of them left first, actually. No, Jason left first. And then so then Kevin was doing a show
Yeah.
with Mike Farron after that, and they
Fair. Yep.
changed
Yep.
the name of it. And
Yep.
so then that went on for a couple more years.
Yep. Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, it's amazing. If you can go to the fan page for that podcast that ended almost 10 years ago, and there are still occasional posts in that
Oh,
page.
on the Facebook page.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
And I know this because I went back through it, trying to find the original Crash Jones post. Hey, I'm starting a weird fantasy league. Do you want to be a part? And I could not find
Right.
that. I could not find it.
Okay. Yeah.
I did find some other, I found like Jordan and Jake pushing the Cespedes family barbacast. And I found, I mean, I think I remember I saw, did you ever post in that group? I thought I saw your name a couple times.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I saw
Probably a
Juan's
few
name in
times.
there.
Okay.
I don't know that I was ever a part of the group, actually.
Okay.
I must have been, because otherwise I wouldn't have seen the post either. So
Well, sure. Yeah.
anyway, so at some point you just clicked on it. You're like, this sounds cool. And I mean, it's
Well, yeah, and it was and I had been playing in fantasy baseball leagues for God, probably like 10 years prior to that, but
wow, okay.
never never a dynasty or a keeper league or anything like that. And so it sounded a lot of fun to branch out into that. Yeah, it's all almost an entirely different style of play as a play, in dynasty leagues, as opposed to just your regular, once a year or yearly leagues. The stress strategy on those are just so radically different.
Yeah, it's all about now.
Between the two,
Now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sounded like a lot of fun, and so I signed up. Yeah.
So did you ever think it was still going to be going 9 years later and you were going to be talking about it?
And that's I got, I have a hard time imagining what things are going to be like a year from now in my life. So
Sure.
to think that, to think that far ahead was almost certainly not something that I was capable of, when I was 21.
Yeah. I mean, I know I mentioned this in the first episode, I think, but in the 9 years since he's been around, I became a parent twice, moved 2,500 miles back to my home state.
Yep.
Did all this stuff, and it's been a constant. And yeah. So I apologize. I didn't look back at the league history, which we have. What did you ever win the league? Did you ever win the title or finish?
I don't think so. I know that I've more so in the early years. I think I made the
Playoffs. Okay.
playoffs a few times, but yeah, I haven't. It's been a real dry stretch the past 4 or 5 years or so.
Yeah. So how are you gonna dig out of this? Do you have a plan? Did you work something up?
If
I mean, I'm on the way down. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to rebuild. So,
well, yeah, if I had an organized plan, I would almost assuredly be doing better than I am right now. But as it is, I'm just sort of flying by the seat of my pants. Just one of those things where I'm checking the list of available free agents every so often, and size.
No one's nominated Yerman Mercedes, by the way.
Yeah. Well, has he got enough at bats?
He has enough
to qualify yet? He has.
In fact, if he's, and I was talking about him with Justin earlier today too, and so Justin may have already nominated. I haven't checked. Justin may have already nominated him, but yeah, no, he passed 130 at bats, because we were discussing the rule. We were discussing the possible rule change, where Justin, if you saw this, Justin was he believes, and we probably will at least try it. I don't know. We're gonna vote. Obviously, we vote. So, but the idea that that you don't have to wait for the player to get to 130 at bats or 50 innings pitched, and you can nominate him in season. You don't have to wait for the rookie draft. So that way a player who's emerged as a prospect, if you miss the rookie draft window to grab him, or if he emerges, he wasn't on the lists and then now he's suddenly on the list, you have to wait till the following year to get it. So his proposal is to take that away and make it so you can nominate them anytime in season without having to wait. So
and that brings up an interesting point with that. And it's kind of this sort of thing will probably only apply to a few players each year. So it isn't as if it's going to be like a widespread thing where there's just going to be just a bunch of rookies that end up being nominated via the regular process. I'm sure just because we go what like as many as many rounds in the rookie league as necessary in order to fill the 15 spots in the minor league roster. And so it's it's interesting that might come up where if you see a rookie that had a huge spring, for example, and
or comes up and has 25 or 30 really great at bats.
Yep.
And those are his first 25 or 30 at bats. You're going to grab that guy and use up a roster spot and bid, he's hitting 600.
Then you got to think about too, like, if there's somebody, in that group that you want to target, it's also going to affect how you spend your money in free agency too. Because if you really want that rookie, you're gonna have to leave some cap space for him. So that's just that's another element that might come into play as a sort of as a side effect of that rule, if we do end up implementing it.
I mean, as in our league, the best value is in getting either drafting the player in the rookie draft or acquiring him as a prospect or signing him when he's nobody. I mean, he's not, an established big leaguer. And then, just like in real life, you get the best value. The teams get the best value out of players they've developed or acquired, while they're minor leaguers. And, and then their salary is, I think some might say, disproportionately low versus what you have to pay them when they're a free agent. And if you're going to sign Mookie Betts off the open market, you're going to pay, you're going to bid against a bunch of people and you're going to pay, $40, $50, $60. That goes up $2 every year. Whereas, Justin, who it came up in our conversation, he had Mookie Betts on his team when he took over the team. And then he thought Mookie Betts was going to leave via free agency. And then Mookie Betts is going to cost a lot more, but instead he gets traded, signs the extension. And now he gets to have Mookie Betts for the next 12 years, end of the contract. He's only making like $38 or something, $36.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's, that's a huge difference. It's so much cheaper to have the player the whole way. So that's why those choices are so important. And that's one of the best things of our league. Now, that isn't to say that I haven't come around to the idea that maybe we should even that out a little bit. And maybe rookies should probably cost a little bit more, but not way more. Because I think we want to incentivize. That's my opinion. It's my opinion.
We don't want the league to be a free for all capitalistic thing. We gotta have it. We gotta have a little bit of price fixing, cost control in there. Yeah.
Of course, and I keep bringing this up every time. We are hoping to expand back to 16 teams for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you if you know anyone, but it's and if we do that, what that means is the salary cap is probably going to take a dive back to $400 the way it always
Sure.
was before, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
$60 is going to come off, and I don't know if you've noticed
Mhm.
this, but most teams are spending the majority of their funds, and since we have it so that everybody's salary goes up each
Yep.
year,
Yep.
there's going to be a lot of players cut. There's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
players cut if we do
For
that.
sure.
Now, of course, you're
Yep.
going to lose players, and I think everybody seems excited about the idea of the expansion draft. I even had a couple people tell
Yeah.
me
Yep.
that they might even ditch their existing team for the chance to build the expansion team, to build the Diamondbacks or
Yeah.
the Marlins or whoever, and I don't know about
I think that'd
that.
be a fun challenge. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if maybe we might even have to have a lottery or something to see who gets them. We might have like
Right.
7 people who are like, take this team. I want the expansion team.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then they would actually stick the incoming owners with the,
Right.
with the existing team. Um, which honestly, if you're a new owner coming in, I mean, like when I recruited my friend Drew to the league, who now owns the
Yep.
Chicago
Yep.
team. And I know they're having a tough time of it this year, but I was trying to explain all this stuff to him, and we talked on the phone for like 2 or 3 separate times for all this time, and I was like, oh yeah, so there's this rule and there's this rule, and so this works this way. You send the guys when you put them on your ESPN, and you send them down. If they're in the big leagues, they have to be waivers, and it's all kind of. I mean, I've been dealing with this for 9 years, so it's fairly. You get used to it, and then you realize
Oh,
just
for
how
sure.
complicated it is
Yeah.
when you try to explain it to someone
Oh, yeah.
else. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
and I just no one wants to hear about your fantasy baseball or football
Yeah.
team in
Yeah.
a casual conversation. So the only time you get to talk about it is when you're talking to other people in the league, or
Hmm.
whatever. So,
Hmm.
um, and he's an intelligent guy, and I think he's figured it out mostly. But it was, you don't realize how detailed and complicated it all is. The
Oh,
team
yeah,
management
for
part,
sure.
especially, which most people are used to playing fantasy baseball, where you draft one, you draft or you auction or whatever, and then you have your guys, and then you throw all the fish back in the pond at the end of the year, and you start over again.
Yep. Yep.
This is just not the same thing, and so I don't know.
Well, yeah,
So
there's yeah, a lot of inevitable, little complicated things that you have to do in order to, try to best simulate, the actual professional baseball that, yeah, you just can't really avoid.
right, so that's the tug of war is, um, how realistic do you really want to be? And over the years, I think we've probably leaned slightly towards making it, adjusting things that were put in place because they were simulationist, or they were realistic, and making them, so like, for example, if we say you can nominate um, anybody who's a big leaguer, who makes the big leagues at all during the season, that is a move towards simplicity, because you don't
Yep.
have to look up that information and see, oh man, he's only got 128 at bats. I've
Yeah.
drafted pitchers in the rookie draft that had 40. I drafted a guy the other year. It was either this year or last year. 49.2 innings. That's
Nice.
actually one of my secrets, is you pick those guys up in the 8th round, the future
Hmm.
relief ace.
Oh,
Pick
for
up in
sure.
the eighth
Yep.
round the guy who threw 49 innings and has struck out 70 guys. Um, and
Yep.
2/3 of the time they crash and burn, they tear their arm off, and you know,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then they or they become the closer of
Yep.
tomorrow. So,
Yes.
and so there might not be. I mean, I can't. The rookie draft would be ruined if we let people sign minor leaguers in the middle of the year. That doesn't seem right.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
agree.
the rookie draft's the best part. Like so,
Yes. Yes.
are there any rules that you would love to change or get rid of, or I mean, is there anything that really bugs you? Anything that's
Mm,
just stupid,
not
or
really. I mean, most of the rules we have, and the ones that have been proposed so far, like they've been fairly objectionable, I'd say. Like, you know,
Unobjectionable. There, that's what we
I can
strive
see
for.
where I can see where the person who made them or proposed them was coming from, and they at least, well, it makes sense from on that side. You know, yeah, there hasn't been anything that's been proposed or that we have in the league constitution that I've looked at and just said, oh, it's bullshit. You know, it all, at least, you know,
Yeah.
it does have, you know, some uh depiction of reality in it. And so yeah, I am just fine with the way we're, or with what we're at so far here.
Yeah, the one that pops in my mind that's on the books that I feel like shouldn't have to be there, but really does have to be there, is the one where you can't collude with other owners to like if you're both paying a
Oh,
penalty for a cut player,
right,
you're
right.
not allowed to um, say I'll nominate
Yep,
yours if you nominate
yep,
mine to get the
yep.
guys off the penalty list. And
Yeah, I remember.
the penalty list has been something that people have argued about in the past, and
Yep,
I'm a big defender of the penalty list. Just real quick, the penalty list is
yep.
just for if you forget, or if you, I know you know, um, the penalty list is when you if you cut a player who's under an ironclad contract, like not an arbitration eligible, or a player that can be cut at any time, basically any at the beginning of a year or in the offseason, be non-tendered. So like if you sign a guy who's got a 4-year contract through 2024, and you are like 2 years in, this it's like, oh, this guy sucks, and you cut him, you have to pay you have to pay half of that contract as a penalty until either he's nominated by someone else and goes to another team and is signed for a different contract, basically a different fake contract in our game, or the contract runs out. I got Dustin Pedroia on my team. Dustin Pedroia, of course, now is officially retired as of the beginning of this year. Um, but for 2 or 3 years, he was like not playing and injured and trying to come back because he's Dustin Pedroia, and he's just Mr. Grit or
Yeah,
whatever. And
nice.
but I had cut him because I needed, and I still was paying him, you know, half of his 27 or 25 or whatever dollar salary was. In fact, I'm still paying him because I felt like I
Oof.
couldn't, even though
Wow.
he officially retired, normally that would
Yeah.
count to get rid of it. But they specifically said in the retirement announcement that the Sox were still paying out his full contract,
Oh, they
just
were.
to
Oh,
be an
interesting.
inspirational figure with the
Oh,
dented up batting helmet or whatever. And
yeah.
so then I was like, you know what? I can't take him off my list. I got to pay him. I got to pay him for one more year. And of course, no one's going to nominate him because he's not able to play. So it was
Yeah.
like the worst case. So
Mhm.
the idea is
Sure.
that you're penalized for either punting on somebody, or basically making the wrong call, making a mistake, but it's not supposed to ruin you. It's not supposed to, if you got super aggressive and went on a spending spree and signed all the best dudes and then cut all those dudes, like you did, like what the Marlins did a few years ago, where when they got Jose Reyes
Yeah.
and they got a couple other guys, and then like within a year they were all gone,
Yep.
traded for peanuts just to get rid of them. Um, you have to, you need to pay something of a price, but if your team is so borked that you can't even you know, compete. You
Hmm.
can't do anything because you owe so many players so much money.
Yeah.
You overextend yourself. Then it's that's kind of stuff that makes people quit because it's not fun. I mean, you're not going to
Oh,
stick
yeah.
around for 3 real life years just to get
Yeah.
everything clear again, like they'd have to do in real life. You
Yep.
have to tank, or you'd have to. We don't want to have. I mean, but tanking sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
looking forward to see what Major League Baseball does in real life to try to get rid of tanking. I know you've probably seen some
Yep.
some
Yep.
speculation about things they might do.
Yep.
I hope they do something though, because it doesn't seem like teams have the incentive to win. Well, this is fantasy land; everybody wants to win. Like so, just
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I'm really defensive of that specific rule because I think it's really important that people be able to bounce back, and so
Mhm.
you're only screwed for like maybe a year at the max, or only a
Yeah.
little while. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was one rule that is when I saw people doing it, And I was not commissioner yet. I was just
Well,
people made the deals like, oh yeah, I'm nominating this guy because well, we had a deal in our trade. It's like,
yeah,
oh no, man, you can't do that. You
yeah.
can't. That's like
Let's say,
you can't.
yeah,
Did you ever try to do that?
I think I did it one time,
Okay.
and I can't remember who. Man,
Oh man,
maybe it
and
was
it's
with
impossible to enforce because you
like,
can talk behind the scenes with people and be like, "Hey, I'll
yeah, for
nominate
sure,
Joey
yeah.
Votto if you
And
know."
I think the time that I did it was before we really brought the issue to the forefront, and it was just sort of
Yeah.
one of the the like the underground things that we didn't really fully understand the impact that particular rule had, and before we made the official change on that, which was that was like what 4 years ago now,
It was a
5 years
while. I
ago,
mean,
I
I
want
don't
to
remember
say
exactly.
it was
Um,
something like that. Yeah.
I fully acknowledge that if you were determined to work this deal out with a willing owner, you could do it and you could be real careful about it and you could say, okay, all right, wait 3 months and
Yep.
then you can now,
Yeah.
like I get that people could do that if they're determined,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I, I'd like to think that
Mm.
we.
Well, I mean, it is if we're playing for money or anything with this league. There's no real, other than just bragging rights and pride. Like, there's no
Yeah.
incentive to want to do it.
I mean,
So
for the first couple years, it was written into the league rules that you were supposed to send a present to the league winner.
really,
Yes, and I
oh,
I happened to win the first year, and I got a few presents. Um, Crash sent me a book called Balls.
oh, that's
it's
right. You talked about that in
Yeah,
Crash
and
episode, right?
and
Yeah,
I got a loaf of banana bread, and
yeah,
I got some other
that's right.
things, and so it was just but I guess I was. I think we came to the conclusion that stopped the year that Nathan down in Australia won the league, and nobody was
Oh,
going to spend $50 mailing stuff to
yeah.
to
No
Australia.
thanks. No
Um,
thanks.
yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to talk to him. He's on my list. He's
Cool.
16
Yeah.
hours ahead of us,
Yeah.
so he has to use a world clock, to keep
Right.
track of all of
Yeah.
the bid times and everything.
Oof,
And
man.
he's bidding, and so like we had to work it out very specifically. Like it'll be the evening for me, and it'll be like the mid morning for him the following
Yeah.
day, and he's going to have that day off work. And anyway, we're still trying to work it out. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
can't wait for that one. Because
Yeah.
we have such a diversity of people in the league. I mean, we have people like, I mean, you and I, we grew up and we have fairly logical paths to baseball fandom. I mean, my dad took me to games. Your dad probably took you to a few Twins games at the Metrodome slash Hefty Bag.
Lots and lots and lots of games in the Metrodome. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, I was, I didn't get to go to millions of games, but I got to go to maybe 4 or 5 a year, something like that.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, it's been one of the more fun things that my dad and I have tried to do since I've gone off to to college and move out, and as we try to go see the Twins play in a different stadium every year.
that's right. Way to bring
And
that
so
up. Yeah.
I
How
get,
many different ones have you gotten to?
let's say it was a nice segue there, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And yeah, we've gotten to about a dozen so far. And we've gone to all of them that are within within reasonable driving distance of the Twin Cities. And let's see, we've made it to San Francisco. We went to well, actually just the last one that we went to, we met up with some family we have out in Southern California. We
Hmm.
had to go see an Angels game out there two summers ago, and so that was a lot of fun.
Mm,
And yeah, we went same trip. It wasn't the Twins, but we also saw a game down in San Diego,
mm.
which I think is probably my favorite favorite place that I've seen a major league ball game at. That's just such a nice stadium.
Really,
Just a
Petco Park
nice
is?
a
Is that still
nice
the name of it?
I think
It was
so.
Petco.
Yeah.
I know sometimes
Yeah,
they
it
change the names, and I
was.
have to stop myself.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah, I
new
don't know about
corporate
that, but
sponsor.
yeah, there's just bunch of bunch of cool stuff within walking distance too. A bunch of cool bars and restaurants and all that, and yeah, it's just an excellent place to see a ball game.
Yeah, that that real estate stuff. This has come up. That real estate around the park, I think most of the club ownership has figured out that there's just as much money
Right,
in that real estate development around the park as there is
right.
with the baseball team actually making the money.
Yeah,
And this has most recently come up with there's been stories about
Oakland.
the
Oakland.
A's. The
Yep.
A's are talking about moving again because they want a bunch of real estate from
Yeah,
Oakland, and
that's right.
and of
Yeah.
course now the A's are going to go hang out in Portland to see,
Of
um,
course they are. Yeah, I'm sure.
Portland's not going to give them any money. Uh,
Yeah.
I've mentioned this a couple times, so I don't want to belabor it, but it's
Yep.
I lived in Portland for 10 years.
Yep.
They're not. They'd love to have them
Yeah.
if they don't have to pay for it. So, but
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
team. There's people trying to bring a team there,
But
but
that's not going to happen. There's almost assuredly going to, if there is going to be a new franchise, Las Vegas or Charlotte
well,
or
now that
wherever it
sports
is.
betting is all okay, you
Yeah.
know, like if I'm there's been so much stuff about sports betting lately. I just, I think back to Cincinnati's, native son, Pete Rose. And,
Right.
Pete Rose, in my childhood, Pete Rose got 4192. I remember watching it on television as a child. He comes back, he manages the Reds. Then the Reds are good, but never quite good enough, right around the time that the Twins have
Sure.
their Cinderella
Yep.
title and everything. 87 was a fun year.
Yes.
And then Rose gets suspended for betting on baseball. Everybody knows, yeah, he bet on his team, but he would never bet on his team to lose. They would always be bet on to win. It doesn't make it okay. It's not
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah.
just, like he was treated partially because he lied and wouldn't accept it, but also
Yeah.
because it was a different time. Now you have, sports betting is they're showing the lines on TV. They've renamed regional sports networks after
Mhm.
Bally's.
After a casino. Yeah,
All
exactly.
this stuff. The athletic and sports journalism is all tied into the betting now. Like betting is going to be okay because they realize there's a lot of money to be made from the betting,
Yeah.
just like there is from the real estate. And anyway, the real estate. So
Yeah.
it is great, especially since games cost so much more now, to go down there and to have a place to go before and after the game. Yeah, I can see how it's a big thing. In Cincinnati, they built Great American Ballpark in 2003, and they had fought. They wanted it to be on the riverfront because that was considered this really important thing, but they had nothing around the stadium until just a couple of years ago, and
Oh.
now they have a bunch of stuff,
Right.
but it took so long for them to get it going that who knows how much money they lost out on. I mean, it just
Yeah.
that
Sure.
kind of stuff matters from a business perspective. And
Oh yeah.
man, if there's one thing a billionaire likes doing, it's making more billions, and that's just
That's
so.
the
I'm not trying to
only
be
thing
all.
they like. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. I know. That's why I'm so glad that I don't have billions, right? um,
Oh
I'm not,
yes.
and I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be all jaded about, because the experience is the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took my son to his first game in the summer of 2019. It's actually the Angels were in
Oh
Cincinnati, which they would only
yeah.
do every 6 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we watched Mike Trout drop a fly ball and then hit a home run later on. The Reds won.
Nice.
My son only remembers those things because I tell him, I remind him of those
Right.
important things all the time. You saw the best player in recent history drop the ball. Um, but mostly what he remembers is hanging out with his cousin and his uncle, and
Right.
and running through the fountain in the outfield, and
Mhm.
just like the experience is what you remember. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
nobody
Yeah.
keeps score anymore. You're not going to go
Yeah.
back and
Well, yeah, and that's I think the main reason why why I still have an overall positive view of the Metrodome, despite the fact that it was arguably a shithole. Like it was not a good place to actually watch a baseball game. But yeah, just all the memories of just going to the games being blown in and out of the pressurized dome.
oh, okay, yeah, right.
Catching fly ball, or catching and fly balls in batting practice.
Oh
Just
yeah.
those things, and those things stick in your head a lot more. And the fact that you had to sit at a 45-degree angle in order to actually see
Oh, you're
home
kidding.
plate at the
I
Metrodome.
mean, I've heard of really old stadiums, like like the old Fenway Park, or whatever, where
Yep.
they had those kinds of crazy, weird, but they did
Um,
that in the Metrodome was built in the 70s.
It was built in it opened in 1982. No, 1982. Yep.
82. Okay.
And
And
they had,
and they're
yeah,
still doing that.
they,
That's nuts.
yeah, well, it was hard to, I don't know that there would have been a way for them to, for the Vikings and the Twins. Like
That's right. The
I don't
Vikings
think
played there
there
too.
would have been a way for them to position the seats so that they could have
Okay,
been,
fair enough.
to be able to face
Okay.
where they should for football, which made a lot more money than baseball.
Okay,
And
fair,
they
fair.
have the seats, actually face home plate toward
Okay.
baseball. That
I forgot that it was
must have been a
multi-purpose.
compromise.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Um, in
Yeah, I was,
in Riverfront Stadium, in Cincinnati, the Reds and the Bengals both played there, and you would go in, and it was hard to miss. I mean, you had to learn how to overlook it, but you go and you see the artificial turf baseball field, and then you'd see the ghost of the football field,
oh,
the
yep, yep,
diagonally across the surface of the field.
yep.
And so, but in Riverfront Stadium was set up, and so for baseball, the sight lines and everything were pretty good, and so for football, they were bad.
Oh,
I remember one time my dad got me tickets to go to a football game, a Bengals game. It was during the strike year, so I think it was
okay.
our favorite year, 1987, and I think that's when this last strike was. And
Yep, yep.
I don't think it was replacement players, but it was during that year. And we get tickets, and they were up in the very top, and it was freezing cold. It was December or whatever, and I would find the seats and discover they are literally behind the scoreboard. Like the scoreboard is covering your.
What?
They are behind
What?
the score, and my dad's like, "Oh, this isn't going to work." And so then we kind of, I mean, we slid around, so at least we weren't behind the scoreboard. But it was just,
They
who
sold
sold
seats
these?
there.
What are you
Jesus.
doing? So
Wow.
modern stadium construction. I mean, you can say it's a little bit less efficient to have separate baseball and football parks for everything, but you know what? I don't feel like they would build stadia, of any kind where you would be sitting behind the scoreboard or have to sit at a 45-degree angle or
Well,
whatever to like
no.
see stuff. I mean,
Yeah, that's the big improvement with these. Even with some of the stadium. I guess there aren't really any stadiums that were built since the Rays stadium, probably that are multi-purpose. But even the newer baseball only stadium or stadiums that have been built, at least in my lifetime. The biggest improvement on those has probably just been, the improved line of sight.
Yeah, you're
I
closer to the
no
action.
no no matter where, no matter where you are in the stadium, you're almost certainly going to be able to at least see what's going on in the field. And
Yeah,
there's not going to be a
that's
big,
true.
big hole in the middle of one of the sections,
Right.
or especially with some of the, the newer the open air stadiums too, where you can see what's going on in the field and from the concourse too. That's a thing that that seems to be a standard feature in all the new stadiums as well.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, it's kind of like a breezeway or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong about the Metrodome then, because
Yep.
I do remember reading about it at one point a long time ago. Um, I want to say, do you remember? Well, these are probably a little bit before your time, but there was this series of paperback books called The Baseball Hall of Shame. There was a whole series of them, and it was a series of little stories about cases where a player or an owner or a manager or somebody had made a terrible mistake. And so, like,
Yep.
there'd be a chapter of like, these are some really bad free agent signings in the 1970s and 80s. And here's some, and there was an entry for the Metrodome, because it was the part about the domes. It was a new thing, or I mean, it was the second domed stadium right after the Astrodome, right? And they thought it was going to be naturally cooled because it was down in the ground, but then they realized that was wrong and they had to put air conditioning in, right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But then the air
Familiar, yeah.
conditioning caused it to be this extreme hitters park because the
Yep.
balls hit into the cool airstream just kept on flying.
Blown out. Yep, yep.
Right. And yeah. And so then,
Or well,
and just the whole thing,
depends.
it just sounds like the whole thing was kind of a physics mistake, that
Well,
they had
and
to then adjust. And I don't know if that's the way you remember it, but I remember reading about it portrayed that way. It's obviously somebody's opinion. Um,
I'm sure you've heard. I'm sure you've heard the stories of how the groundskeepers at the Metrodome used to always have the fans blowing out whenever the Twins were at bat, and blowing in whenever the Twins pitchers
oh no.
were.
Okay. Okay.
I
I
mean,
didn't hear that.
yeah,
That's
that.
funny.
Oh yeah, that was a very
So
common. I mean,
the ventilation system was
yeah,
helping.
there was a big fan that was behind the plate, and
Oh,
it
okay.
was ostensibly for the air conditioning system. And I don't think you can even call it a conspiracy at this point, because it's been all but confirmed by everybody who who's worked at the Metrodome, that there were certain times that they decided to have the fans blowing out, whenever the Twins were at bat in important games. And that was, I think that I can speak heresy partially arose because they never lost a World Series game in the Metrodome in either 1987 or
Never. Okay. Wow.
1991. So that was, something that people latched onto, and was sort of an open secret
Okay. I did not know that.
for a
I mean, it
while.
makes sense.
Yep.
That's why, for example, when they brought up when the stuff about the Houston Astros banging on trash cans
Right.
and doing and basically being particularly open
Yeah.
about their little home field advantage. Um, People that teams have been stealing signs and doing little things like that since the beginning of time, and it's just a matter of you know what's going to be legal and what isn't. And obviously, I don't know that it should. I mean, should they have been turning the fan on for Twins when the Twins bat and off? I mean, no, you know.
Yeah.
But this is
Probably
part of this
not.
stuff. I mean, this is part of why. Yeah, it's part of why it's good to play at home, I guess. Um, Target Field apparently doesn't have this kind of built-in advantage, though, because I mean, haven't they had? I thought I saw something in the Athletic fairly recently. Um, I didn't realize they have had a lot of recent playoff futility.
You can say that again. Yeah.
They've had a lot of recent playoff utility.
That is a kinder way
Man.
than I would put it. But yes, they have.
Well, my teams have lost most of their playoff games they've appeared in the last decade. Of course, the Bengals lost. The Bengals made the playoffs 7 times under their former coach Marvin
Yep.
Lewis and
Yep.
lost all 7 times.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not a yeah kind of thing. It's just
Oh yeah. Yep.
I do understand, but yeah. So it just they got to figure out something Target Field can do that'll
yeah, it's a lot more difficult to do with the open air stadiums, the ones that are not that don't have the quirks that if they that a stadium like Fenway might have, or what's some of the older ones that you can sort of build your team around to like with the like what the Giants did, that back in the 1920s and 30s at at Polo Grounds with Mel Ott and all the home runs that he hit to the extremely short porch in
right.
right
That's right.
field. There.
The Polo
Yep.
Grounds. I read a lot of baseball books as a kid.
Yep. Same. Yep.
And a lot of stuff about the Polo Grounds, and I actually I should look up what the Polo Grounds was at, but it was what was it? It was not even 300 feet,
no, it was
240
like
feet.
it was like 280-ish. I want to say
like
to
two,
both right,
like
hand left field. Yeah.
okay, so both of them, and
I think so.
they didn't have like a big tall, they didn't have like a green monster or anything,
No,
right? It was
nope.
so you could just, and then in center field it was like 450 or
Some
it was
insanely
some
long
insane amount, right?
distance like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. So I mean, boy, God, good Lord, like that's yeah. So give the Giants credit for getting some sluggers in there right after Babe Ruth introduced everyone to the value of the home run ball, right?
Yes.
And everybody's
Yes.
like, "Oh, screw all this running around and blooping singles and stealing bases. Now you're gonna hit some bombs, and then
Yep.
that makes sense."
Yep.
And I know they're talking. They supposedly Major League Baseball deadened the ball this year
Yep.
a little bit, and supposedly it was only a little bit. But
Supposedly. Yes.
supposedly, um, it seems like there's still. It seems like there's still this rough, no, not quite as many home runs, but I don't know. Offense is definitely
Yes.
down, and I've got
Definitely.
I
It's definitely
do you
down
do you
from.
want to see a game with less scoring, or do you like
It's
12-9 games?
yeah. I me being a pitcher growing up,
Well, okay,
I'm more inclined to the game where you can appreciate a pitcher just going out there and shoving. Though those are the games I probably enjoy watching on TV more. But at the same time, though, it's hard to say, whether or not this current situation that we have where hits are depressed, where pitchers are striking out a lot more people. It's a bit hard for me to conclusively say that it's for sure I'm sure the ball that's causing this when it's the when it's been just sort of a natural evolution of the game. I think the past 6 or 7 years with all the the increasing emphasis on the 3 true outcomes and
yeah, all the
all the different.
technology on both sides,
Yep, yeah,
hitters and pitchers.
the ability to with to get spin rate and be able to track or to be able to like like what they're doing with the TrackMan cameras and all the the high speed stuff to be able to get those the biomechanical markers down and fully make your swings that that you do make contact with, at least, you make those as efficient as you can. And it's hard for me to say that that that's a bad thing, because eventually, somebody is going to do it. Like you see this, this huge area that you can use to be able to make your team better. And of course, that's going to be done. And I don't think it's right for the league to, step in and say, hey, whoa there. You're using, using too much technology here. Yeah,
Right. You're not
you're
allowed to
getting
use
into the
this. Yeah.
weeds too much here. Like it makes sense just from a progression standpoint that we would eventually be here. Now, where it gets interesting to me is where, is the most efficient ball game that you can play, one that's the most entertaining to watch. And for that, I would probably say no to that. And just from a fan perspective, I don't have any particular, I don't I don't root for the Sats guys or anything. I
No.
don't try and I don't take pleasure in all of these, the new stats revolution in baseball. Like I'm, the perspective that I come at it from is just I want to be entertained
Yeah.
to
As
the
a
maximum
spectator. Yeah.
amount,
As a
and I'm watching
spectator.
it. Yeah, and it's absolutely certain things about this fetishization of efficiency that like the rule change that they made for, I think it was last year, where they made it so all the relievers had to face three batters. And like I think that like I can see both sides on that, but I do think something like that should take a few minutes off of each game, just from all the
Yeah. They said it
commercial
doesn't actually
breaks
take that
in
much
the game.
time, really.
Oh, didn't it really?
Just
Oh,
not really. I mean, it takes. They said an average of a minute or two or something. I mean, it's not a
oh,
lot.
oh,
I mean, something
oh,
like a pitch clock. If they were really trying to cut to save
well, yeah.
time, you really you make the pitchers work faster. I think is what it.
Well, you really didn't babble out of, yeah. That's the thing. It seems like there's a lot more of now. The pitchers that are getting up there and taking the time on the mound and going through their routine. Like, the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head, when I was growing up, that's saying like like he took forever on the mound to pitch. And this could just be a function of my my lack of com, comprehensive memory of the game. But Raphael Betancourt, I remember
Yeah.
being a reliever who would just
From
sit there on the
the
mound, and
Indians.
he his hands up. He would just stare in for what seemed like forever, just waiting for the batter to either just stay there or just get tired and call time or whatever. But yeah, it does seem like
Oh yeah.
there's,
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't remember him standing out as that,
yeah,
but
well,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
interesting to see how they adjust the rules. I don't think I would mind. It'd be nice if they do whatever they can to balance the game relatively. I mean, there's always going to be, clubs trying to use the principles of Moneyball, right? Which is to find and exploit the undervalued. Whatever it is at a time. At one time, originally it was guys who got on base. Right? The Scott
yep,
Hattebergs of the world, and then it's changed to something else.
yep,
Um, and so I don't know. I mean, I'd say the shift defends me a little bit from an aesthetic standpoint, but I mean, I
Yeah.
can't really convincingly explain why it should be banned.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Like it's one of those things that, it just makes sense that a
and then
team
you
would
have to deal with the
do that.
manager, you have to deal with the announcers, and I don't have, because I got rid of my cable, and now I have YouTube TV that doesn't have the regional sports channels. I don't have to listen to these guys that listen to the announcers talk anymore about, well, why doesn't the slugger
Right.
bunt to third base and be safe every time,
Right.
and it's like,
Yep. Yep.
um, and you have to listen to that crap over and over and over again. Um,
Yep.
and it just, I get tired of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's.
But it was,
Yeah.
so if you could just maybe, you can keep the shift around, just make the announcers shut up about it, please. It's just a thing that they do.
Uh,
Or
they
ban
do.
it, and so then we don't have to listen to them say this at all. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Real. Well, he
Um,
does. Yeah. Yeah. It does seem like the fans by and large are fine with the ship. It seems like it just seems like
yeah,
it's the media, it's the old guard in baseball that, and for
yeah,
some
they're
reason, take
drinking $11 beers
great
and
offense
taking
to it.
selfies, man. They don't care.
Yes.
Jeez. Anyway,
Right on.
yeah. All right. So on that note, we're getting close to 2 hours. During the Jordan episode, he talked about how it's really important for a podcast to be under an hour, even though his own podcast doesn't make it under an hour that often. Meanwhile, then
Yeah.
I talked to John. We get to 2 hours. You're running close to 2 hours. So
Yeah.
it's fine, because this isn't really being made for a specific external audience. It's just a
For
thing
wide
that I
consumption. Yep. Yep.
felt really, I never thought of myself as this person who create things, and I just had this
Right.
like inspiration. I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to do this. I'm not just going to
Yeah.
talk about it at a bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and besides, none of the I'm not sitting in a bar with any of the people in the league. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but
I actually was able to, once, had I think back in 2013 or 2014 it was.
so near the beginning.
No, it was. I actually did. It ended up going to a Twins game with Joe Jody White.
Okay,
He
former
was,
member of the league. Yeah.
yep, yep, yeah. His company had a box at Target Field that he invited me to one time, and so yeah,
Oh,
it was a
that's
good time.
awesome.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
He worked for, at the time, I don't know what he does now, but I know he worked for a company that made fishing reels or something like that. He was like a social media guy for.
I think it was for FFLW fishing. Yeah, they do a lot of like that. They cover the fishing events or the pro tours they have, all that, and I think that's what he still does. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I see pictures from that he
And so
posts on Twitter and everything. So
he lived in Minnesota at the time as well.
for like a year and a half, he did. Yep,
Okay.
yep, yeah. The
Well,
place
I
in
mean, hey, if you're doing fishing equipment, you're in the land of 10,000
well,
lakes, right?
exactly.
It makes sense.
You're in the right spot. Absolutely. You
Okay.
bet.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it'd be great. I mean, we could definitely get, people in, you could get a few people together in real life, but I do think we're going to try to see how many people we can get to show up for a Zoom, maybe for the All-Star games. The All-Star game is usually, frankly, bores me. So
Yeah,
like
I agree.
to have something like that, or whatever, we can get people on, and, so you can kind of, that wouldn't be too hard to pull
Yeah, that'd be
off.
fun. Yeah.
All of us have gotten better at this Zoom thing. So,
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, so I thanks a lot for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. And we'll see how fast we get through all the rest of these. Best of luck to the Northeasters. I am not doing as well this year. Someone else is going to take my place, guaranteed.
Yep. I am in the midst of another of an eternal rebuilding year. It feels like.
Oh, jeez. All right, you gotta,
But
you gotta
anyway,
money ball this
but anyway,
shit, man. This is,
and I gotta come up with something. I gotta figure out new ways to cheat or something. God.
yeah. I mean, because Jason Dominguez. I mean, it's going to be a few years on Jason Dominguez. So
Yes. Okay, but but yeah, thanks for having me on though. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, it's been great to listen to the past few podcasts you've done. Just from the wide range of experiences that
yep,
we all have that are in this league, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of them, seeing what you guys
yep. Well, we've got at least
come up with.
8 more, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
well, 8 to 10 more. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, hey, how many times do you, if you're not really, someone who's famous or do this for a living, how often do you have somebody being like somebody who you're vaguely acquainted with from the internet is like, hey, can I interview you for an hour and a half or 2
Right. Yeah.
hours? And you can talk about
Yeah.
stuff that, like you have a common understanding of, but, even though maybe the outside world would probably not so much. I haven't checked the
Yeah.
views. Crash has been putting these up on YouTube, and I have
Right.
not
Yep.
been checking the views to see if people are actually
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to know.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be many.
I think they're in between like 20 and 40. At least the ones who,
That's
when
actually
I
higher
saw
than I
them.
would have guessed. Okay.
Yeah. When I watched them all on Monday, I think the highest one, it was, think it was Crash's episode. Yeah. It was like in the high 40s, low 50s or something like that.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, I
Oh,
don't know if
fame is around the corner.
you know, we, we can, we can only hope.
All right. Well, we'll see how this one does. Thanks a
All
lot,
right.
man. I'll talk to you soon. Best of luck.
Have a good one, Scott. See ya.